This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
On this episode of Discover the Upper Cumberland, we experience Happy Trails Brewing Company, enjoy beautiful ceramics from Rachel Clark, learn the inspiring story behind Dry Levee Salvage, and discover treasures with the Cookeville Coin Club. So come along, and together we'll discover the Upper Cumberland. Welcome to Discover the Upper Cumberland. We're so excited to bring you more stories about interesting people and places throughout the Upper Cumberland. I'm Celeste Flatt-Bennett, and I'm honored to be your guide on this adventure. When trying to come up with a new concept for a brewery, Jessica Upchurch decided to combine great tasting beer with the beautiful state parks for which Tennessee is famous. Let's take a hike down to Happy Trails Brewing Company in downtown Sparta.
I'm a preschool teacher. I've been teaching for 9 years, and a few years ago we decided to take up home brewing and learning about the brewing process and creating recipes and making our own beer for ourselves and our friends. And I decided I wanted to learn more about brewing. And as we started brewing more and more beer, people really started to enjoy it. We started sharing with our friends and family, and I actually entered a few competitions and won a few medals with some different she brew and things like that. So I started to think maybe this is something that we could do. And I found a program where I could learn more about brewing and the actual process of owning a brewery, the operations, the science of it, and I made the choice to actually attend school and become a master brewer. As we learned more about the process of brewing, it was very evident. I loved true to style beers. I loved brewing anything that I could follow my recipe, and I knew exactly the kind of beer that I was going to get from my recipes. And as I learned more about it, I realized that was the way that I wanted to go with my actual brewing. And I went straight into the all grain, which means I always brewed using grains only, no extracts. And we did 5-gallon batches. We used all different hops. We were able to make our own recipes. We were able to build those using the things that we knew that we enjoyed. When we first started trying to figure out what we wanted to do as a brewery, what we wanted to have as far as our concept, we started to think about things that we have in our area. And we have always loved as a family going hiking, doing things in state parks. We go camping a lot. And so when we started trying to think of something that we could do to relate was the state parks. So we actually reached out to Tennessee state parks and presented them with an idea. If we were Happy Trails Brewing Company, what could that look like as a partnership? So we came up with the idea that we would name our beers things to do with the state parks, whether it's our Burgess Blonde, which is named after Burgess Falls, if it's our Pickett State Park beer, which is our Pickett Pale, and then we have a Ranger Brown, which is named after a park ranger, of course. So we knew that those were things that we wanted to present with the parks and see how they would feel about it. And we actually signed a contract with them stating that we would donate beer each year to some of their events that they hold. So we've actually served beer for the bike ride across Tennessee, and we have plans to serve at several upcoming events. So it's pretty neat to see how receptive they were for our plan. And it's advertisement for us as well as advertisement for them. And here in our brewery, we actually have a very large map that shows all 56 of the state parks across the state of Tennessee. So that's pretty neat to see people take a look at that, and they don't even realize that they're that close to so many state parks. So that to me is just a really neat thing that we can do to just show our love for Tennessee and to show people what they can actually experience when they come into our area. We also have our Pay It Forward wall, which is something really neat that we've seen in a few breweries, and where people can come in and they buy a beer, and it can be for anybody or any occupation. We've had a lot of people buy beers for veterans or teachers, and then specific names. If you've got a friend coming into the brewery in a couple of days, you can buy them a beer and they come in and see their name on the wall. So that's been pretty cool to see people come in and they feel like they're important when they see that up there. And it's a way for you to give back to somebody else. It's a really neat thing for people to see when they walk into our brewery. It's not just like walking into a bar. You walk in and people are really trying new beers. They're savoring the taste. They want to try different things. They're not here just to be at a sports bar where you go and they take shots or pound alcohol. Nobody does that. It's a different feeling. People feel welcome to bring their kids and to come and spend an afternoon with their families, or even for the live music. We have people come to sing music who are younger and bring a younger crowd, and that's okay because we have craft sodas as well, and we have water, and people feel like they can come here and be welcome no matter what. So it's a really neat thing to see. The crowd that comes here is not going to be the kind of people that are going to start bar fights or something like that. So it's a really neat way to spend a weekend, and we've really come to realize that people are looking for something to do. They're looking for a place to go that they feel safe and welcomed, and that they can just have a good time.
Rachel Clark is a ceramics artist that is fascinated with the idea of using local materials to create her beautiful work, allowing her to form a connection with the area in which she lives. Rachel recently let us get a sneak peek at some of her amazing creations made from the clay and shell found right here in the Upper Cumberland.
I really enjoy working with my hands, and clay can be really forgiving, but it can also be very technical, and I really appreciate that. There's a lot of chemistry involved, and that science aspect really draws me to it. I guess opposed to other mediums, you can push it around a little bit more, and I really like that. I guess I just really enjoy working with the texture and the consistency of clay. I started working with wild clay about 3 years ago, and I like to source my material locally. I feel that it connects me to place more, and I think it's really fascinating that we can walk outside our door and collect materials that we can turn into art objects. So in Tennessee, I am using this really great local red clay, and this is sourced from Cookeville, Tennessee. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the ground. So I've not done anything to this. This was about 8 feet underneath the topsoil. And you can see there's these really lovely striations of red and white in there. This red is caused by iron oxide that's naturally occurring in the environment. So when I use this stuff, I have to process it. I can't just throw it into a kiln. We have a lot of limestone in the area, so this has a lot of small chunks of limestone. So I'll take that, I have to dry it out, pulverize it, run it through a screen mesh, add some other materials to it to make it more compatible with firing, mix it, and then wedge it. So it actually takes a lot of processing, but it's a really rewarding experience for me. I'm also interested in using local glaze materials. Glaze is the glassy coating that covers ceramic ware, and it seals the clay in. It can also create some really beautiful effects. So I'm using this, and you might have noticed this along the roadways here. This is called Chattanooga shale. It's a deposit that's about 400 million years old, which is so fascinating. It is the product of a shallow ocean that was here a long time ago. It is consisted primarily of illite, which is a combination of silica and alumina stacked on top of each other. So that makes it a really great glaze. And this right here, this clay is porcelain, but this green glaze is just milled shale. And it's really rare that you get a material that you can just mill down and put directly onto a pot and it becomes a glaze. Typically you need to add fluxes or other silica, but this stuff is really special. And it's one of the things that really fascinates me about this area and the resources that are available. I prefer to make functional ware, so that means I'm making pots that you can use, that you would put on your table and use day to day. And when I think about the items that I'm making, because I like to work locally, I like to think about the local foods that are available and the foods that I personally like to eat. So lately I've gotten into making a lot of these trays. I also really enjoy making mugs and cups. I am fascinated by the local moonshine industry. So I've started making moonshine jugs and moonshine sippers. So not only does it come from the land that they live on, but they can interact with it on a day-to-day basis. I love working with ceramics and clay because I feel a connection to place and a connection to the land. I enjoy exploring and experimenting and finding different materials that I can use every time I move. It's like a treasure hunt. I get to go out into the woods or go out into fields or roadsides and find a material that nobody else is using and play around with it and see how it works. And I think that's so fascinating. I also enjoy teaching, so that's another opportunity I have here as an artist and resident at the Craft Center. I do workshops during the semester, and I do a summer workshop too. If you're interested in finding out more about my work, you can visit the Appalachian Center for Craft Gallery. It is there with a number of other amazing local artists. All of the residents, students, faculty, and local artists have work available there, so it's a really amazing place to stop and see. I feel really blessed to be able to do this every day. I know a lot of people don't get that opportunity, and I look forward to the future. I'll be here for another year, and then after that, I'll be looking for a teaching position at a university where I get to continue working with clay and enjoying my job.
Formed out of a desire to preserve our valuable history, Dry Levee Salvage quickly evolved into so much more. Not only are precious bits of history being passed on to future generations, owner John Owen has found his true calling and a way to use this unique business to pass valuable life lessons on to those that work with him. We are out browsing around the Upper Cumberland today, and we've stopped in to see Mr. John Owen here at the Dry Levee in Cookeville. What a unique business you have going here.
A bit different.
And we love it, and the story behind it we love even more. So how are you today?
Doing very well, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having us and letting us come in and talk to you. Tell us a little bit about the Dry Levee.
I've always had a passion for history. Lived here for a period of time. My grandparents and great-grandparents are from here. My parents went to Tech, so this was kind of like the center of my universe growing up. We moved with the company. I worked with PepsiCo for a period of time, and we moved the company to Nashville and to Dallas, Texas, and to Orlando, Florida. Had some health issues in Florida, and it allowed me to take a step back and look at life and purpose and those kind of things. And we decided to move back to Cookeville, Tennessee. As I said, it was kind of the center of our universe. It allowed us to kind of put together a passion for history and a passion for working with young people, young men specifically.
Nice. So when you were in Florida, you said you had some health issues and it made you step back and take a look at purpose.
Right.
And this is all about repurposing.
Absolutely.
And repurposing lives.
Yep.
And that's what you do behind the scenes.
I mentor a group of young men, actually, 10 of them, and that is my passion, a group of just incredibly great young men. And I kind of saw a void, quite frankly, in young men becoming men and understanding what it is to be a man of character, a good husband, a good father, a good friend, someone that can shake your hand and look you in the eye and say, I'm going to do this or that, and then do it. So it's one of the things that we try to work with them on is, this, what does it mean to be a man these days, and how can we be a man that has, the gentle side to be able to help those who are less fortunate than we, but also be strong enough to either protect or, to disassemble buildings or things such as that. It's kind of, I guess you could say it's put up your iPhone, grab a hammer, let's sweat. The reward really is in the labor, because I think people need a purpose. And one of the things that it seemed is that a lot of young men don't really see or know how to find their purpose. And I just think that people need a purpose, more than a job, more than acceptance in society, more than any of those type things. I think everyone needs a purpose. So what our goal is here is teach them a trade, teach them a respect for history, understanding that we stand on the shoulders of giants, the parents, grandparents, great-grandparents that settled this area and this country, the hardships they went through, just incredibly different than what we go through today. We physically try to understand the history of every structure that we're blessed to take down. So we'll interview people that have owned the property. We'll do research at the courthouse to see who the different people that owned it. We disassemble nail by nail, so we really get a good feel of what the person felt like when they were putting it together. And then it gives you kind of a respect of how long those things take. When we disassemble, many times we use exactly the tools that the pioneers used to assemble. And so when you have nothing electric going on and you're taking something down piece by piece with your hands, you really begin to see, wow, the effort it took to do this. And then it becomes a great kind of conduit or bridge to discussing purpose. What was the purpose to build a house? If it's a log cabin 150 years ago, it was going to be forever. It was to protect my family and from the elements and animals and whatever else. And whereas opposed today, it's a little bit of a different feel. And what we try to do with the guys is, as we go through this mentorship, is say, well, what would be a good purpose for you? What is that labor that you love, where you can make the world around you a bit of a better place?
Absolutely.
And then let's figure out the ways that you might be able to make a living at it.
Tell us how you've watched these young men, or one of these young men, really change their life. You've seen their life take a different direction.
Honestly, if we had an hour to 2 hours, I could tell you a story about each one of the 10. Honestly, that would just it's just an amazing thing that I'm blessed to be able to watch the transformation of these young men.
Wow, it's inspiring to be here with you today, and we hope everyone comes by and stops into the Dry Levee to help support your cause and refurbish and repurpose their own homes.
Kind of our motto is, investing in the future by repurposing the past, and we'd love to see any of you folks come by. Just meet us at the levee.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Many of us have dreamed of discovering treasure at some point in our lives. But what most of us do not realize is that we could be carrying around treasure right in our own pockets and not even know it. Members of the Cookeville Coin Club are aware that every day valuable coins pass from person to person unknowingly, until that certain someone with a keen eye realizes their coin holds much more than face value.
I got started collecting coins when I was about 12 years old. My grandfather had a dime store that burned down in 1936. And one of the few things they salvaged was a quart jar that he had under the counter that he threw every Indian head penny in that came through the cash register. And so when he gave it to me, it was a fruit jar about halfway full of Indian pennies.
My daddy would give me a little money and I'd go to the bank and get a bag of pennies. And I would check the pennies for the dates I needed.
I started collecting pennies, Lincoln cents to be exact.
And they did that on purpose because we had just revolted from Great Britain, who makes pennies. We have always minted cents.
After that, I started to branch out into other coins, and I started going into the world of nickels first. Then I went to the dollars, and then I went to the half dollars.
It might be considered a disease in some ways. It's not always rational for you to pursue a particular date of a particular kind of coin, but there are collectors of all kinds of things.
I wasn't here when this club got started. I believe it's been here 6 or 7 years. We do have, our treasurer is actually member 1. It was he and the fellow that owned the local coin shop in town at that time. They started and were actually met in the coin shop for a couple of years until they outgrew that. We've met at Shoney's, we outgrew Shoney's until we found this place here. This venue works real well for us. We have about 60 members on the roster. Anyone can join. We've got ladies, we've got kids, so it's a diverse group, not just older people as you would think, although it is a majority older people because the older people have time for this kind of stuff, where the younger people may not. We're formalized. We go by Robert's rules and have a call to order and read the minutes and read the treasurer's report and various committees. And then we do a door prize and raffle prizes. The raffle is one way we keep the finances of the club going. And so we'll have an in-house raffle every night. Visitors are always welcome. We love to have visitors.
I started collecting at a middle school age. I came here and because I had an interest in the hobby, and I thought, you know what, this would be a good place to go. Overall, it was a positive atmosphere, and I felt very welcome.
I'm a relatively new member of the Cookeville Coin Club. I've been coming to meetings for a couple of years now. I thought I would enjoy dealing coins and attending coin shows, and that's what I've done. And it's been a great hobby and avocation for me.
A true collector usually specializes in one type. I specialize in large cents, which were the large cents that were made from 1793 till 1857. And the history of it is what gets me involved. I love to think about the history. There were very few of the early cents made in 1793, 94, 95. You're talking less than 100,000. So if you think of the population of the United States, they didn't circulate much out of New York and Philadelphia and maybe down to Washington. So Benjamin Franklin could have held the one you've got in your collection. It's very possible.
Well, I think I got bit with a collector bug when I was a kid, that it was fun to search for individual dates and mint marks and so forth, and to fill holes in that penny book. And then gradually you begin to learn there's quite a lot of history to be learned.
The historical significance of some of the coins and some of the other numismatist pieces are really interesting, and the rarity can be very interesting too.
from the first Mexican Empire. It was one of the very, very few monarchies. It only had one emperor, Augustine de Iturbide. This was legal tender in the United States at the time. It dates to 1823. It's roughly the same value as a quarter, but it had a slightly higher silver content at 90.3% instead of 90%.
Collectors are aware that it is a graying hobby. Let's say you inherited Grandpa's bag of coins that he had for many years. You know nothing about them at all. Obviously, you need to find out about them. The best way is going to be to find another collector, and the easiest way is to come to the Coin Club, because we're here. We always give out free advice. You can even get a free appraisal here if you have no idea what your stuff is worth. There's an old saying in coin collecting, buy the book before you buy the coin.
Thank you for exploring the Upper Cumberland with us. For more information on this show, visit our website, wcte.org/discover. If you have any story ideas you think we should feature, email us at discover@wcte.org. I'll see you next time, and together we'll discover the Upper Cumberland.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.